Hi folks, how are you all? Extremely delighted to speak to you on a very, very interesting and rather very, very important topic, I would say, from a life and career perspective. Stay with this video until the end. You for sure will probably have some very good information which is very, very useful for you in terms of understanding how life and careers pan out and what is the most important factor to succeed in your career and succeed in your life. I'm not going to dwell into very, very complex issues in terms of what are the factors which will give you a great career or a great life and things like that. But I'm essentially, based on my past experience and my observation of a lot of candidates, particularly somebody who's been very, very successful. Successful is quote unquote successful not alone as perceived by the outside world, but in their own terms and conditions, who has succeeded and who has not succeeded, and what is the single biggest factor that gives success to people, both from the material point of view as well as from the happiness point of view. So what is a singular factor which determines as to whether a person's career is successful or not? You could talk about a lot of things. You could talk about education, you could talk about pedigree, you could talk about the person being extremely smart, being in the top 2%, 1%, etc. But I would probably knock off all these factors and attribute long-term happiness and long-term career success to one singular factor. Believe me or not, you might probably not agree with me, but I would think longevity is a key word for a successful career and life. And what am I speaking here about longevity? I'm talking about in general career longevity. And what is career longevity? Career longevity is nothing but being stable in a particular job for a reasonable amount of time. Similarly, repeating it time and again in terms of being in a good job time and again, moving to a good employer time and again, and probably stay put with them with about 5 to 7 years, climbing successfully in terms of roles, successfully in terms of what you do, your deliverables, and also in terms of compensation. This is a single most determinant of successful life and successful careers and overall happiness of life is what my experience is. Why am I saying this, and why am I really not attributing happiness and success to other factors in life, which could probably be a great pedigree, a great education, great academic background, great family background, parents being well educated and stuff like that. Why is it such an important differential? I'll take you through it. Essentially, look at a career as probably a combination or a culmination of efforts of about 6, 7 or 8 jobs, beginning your first job to probably your last job whenever you choose to retire. Of course, now people talk about quick retirement in terms of retiring in your mid-40s, making enough amount of money, or probably some people even choose to work till the end of their what is called the retirement age, 58 or 60. But you probably would also know that in the Western countries, retirement as a concept is not there, both in the private sector as well as the government sector. I think in the government sector you have retirement in the West, but in the private sector you could actually work as long as you are active. But for this, for argument's sake, we will take the retirement age to be 60 in this particular retirement age to be 60 for this particular video. So tentatively between 22 to 60 years old, it is roughly about 38 years of working life. So in those 38 years of working life, are you going to float around pointlessly, probably shifting every 1 to 2 years, not making up your mind as to where you want to be, what you want to do in your life, and go on and on? So, and what happens is when you really float around like that, you actually gather no moss, and essentially you suffer a big career burnout sometime early 40s, where you're forced to leave your work life and probably try doing something alone. I've seen a lot of people do this. In fact, I've been I voluntarily tried that, and probably I wouldn't call me a very, very successful professional, not from the point of view of knowledge, or not from the point of world experience, but if you purely measure in terms of being contented in life, being contented in terms of both money and happiness, for sure that is not the right way to go about it. What I'm trying to say is, don't be a rolling stone, don't keep on moving every every 2-3 years and magically think that things will happen. It doesn't work that way. Of course, early career there is bound to be one or two mistakes in terms of shifting jobs, making wrong moves and things like that. But it cannot go beyond when you are 25 years old, at least in the Indian context. Once you are 25 to 30 years old, it's time to settle down in terms of being in the right employment, being in the right role, grow steadily in each role, grow both in terms of compensation and role, and make sure that with every employer you probably try and do at least 5 to 7 years. I know it is very tough in today's context because the career span in terms of life with a particular employer also is coming down. There are a lot of extraneous factors, but despite that, consciously we need to make sure that we do a certain kind of career planning where we probably envision ourselves with about 7 to 8 employers maximum until the age of retirement or until the point where we choose to work. That is the best way to succeed in terms of having a very, very stable career, and that also means that you accumulate fair amount of personal wealth, which is very, very good for your personal happiness, family happiness, and which is a consequence of a lot of other important material things which are very, very essential in life. You should understand that a lot of times we really think that there are shortcuts to success primarily from a career point of view. We think that some people who are doing very well are doing so because of luck. Yeah, there might be 1 or 2 people who do well because of luck, but if there are 100 people, at least 90 people are very, very carefully planning their career. They are carefully planning their career moves. They know what they are doing, and they know that they have to shift only in 3 to 5 years time or 5 to 7 years time in any particular job. So that is longevity within one particular employer as well as the longevity of the career. Once you decide that you will probably only work with about 5-6 employers or 7-8 employers across your work life, obviously you are very, very going to clearly plan your career and do things which are going to take you in that particular career path rather than just jumping around pointlessly. Many times, interestingly, whenever you attend work interviews, you will see that when you say that your work tenure in a particular employer is less than 2 years or less than 1 year or even less than 3 years, the first thing HR asks, first thing the functional manager asks is, what exactly have you done in these 3 years? What have you achieved? Because what happens is a lot of times in today's world, HR people or even the functional leaders clearly take away about 6 months to 1 year of any employment, because that is a kind of learning curve which any new place gives. It could be a new industry, it could be a new company, it could be a new work environment or whatever. For example, if you are working from a very, very small company which is unprofessional or not so professional, not so well known, from there you move to a larger multinational or transnational organization. The organization cultures are going to be very different, the quality of people is going to be very different, the business models are going to be very different. So henceforth, the learning curve for you to really start getting productive in that new place is going to be 6 months to 1 year. So in any employment duration, this is going to be a very, very important factor in the external world, outside world, or I would call the interviewers world, judging about how long you've been with an organization and how much of the time has been productive. So if you have been in an organization for about 3 years or 2 years or 1 year, obviously you've not produced anything is a big point which is being debated today. For example, you could probably make 1 mistake, 2 mistakes where you moved job in 1 year. But if it is more than that, something is seriously perceived as being wrong with you in terms of being your plan or being your performance levels or your ability to transcend barriers and work within an organization, adjusting to people and things like that. So essentially, irrespective of how good or bad the organization or the employee you were with has been, only you would know. But as far as outside world is concerned, it very, very clearly reflects about your ability to be for long in a particular organization. That is why I keep the word longevity as a single biggest differentiator of people who succeeded in organization. You will now understand how important the word longevity it is. It could probably sound very, very old fashioned, but if you just look around, maybe even look at social media platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook and look around people who are very, very successful in terms of where they are today, in terms of their number of years of experience, you will very clearly see that people who probably have been stable jobs and who really have planned their moves, maybe once in 5 years, once in 6 years, once in 7 years, unless otherwise there was a huge contingency. For example, if a huge company like Enron goes burst. Of course, it is no crime. The whole world knows that Enron had the best of people, and these best of people obviously would look for jobs because Enron went burst. This can be a case with very, very large, credible organizations, but unfortunately, if you that the same happens with very small and unknown organizations, again, the blame for the retribution for losing the job is going to come to you. It is very, very important henceforth to really then stick on and give meaningful meaning to the word longevity on your CV. When somebody looks at your CV, if you have 15 years of experience, 3-4 jobs with a lot of achievements, with a lot of recognition and a lot of stories to tell is the way it should be, and that is the best way to build great careers. If you look at somebody in 15 years of experience and who has done 7 jobs or 8 jobs, obviously you'll see that his compensation is much, much lower than somebody who is with 15 years of experience in terms of a much higher level, and he obviously would have been at a much higher compensation because he worked for average of 5 years in every organization and didn't move on once in every 2-3 years. Again, I said in terms of the biggest setback or a big trap in terms of making very, very frequent moves in the initial part of your career is that at some point you'll really go bust, and probably even in early 40s or mid 40s you'll hit a blind end where people don't want to employ you anymore, and you think probably then becoming a freelancer or becoming an independent consultant is the only road ahead. That also is a very, very clear sign that things have failed from a professional career point of view. Like it or not, I'm probably blunt on your face, but that is a brutal fact, because you really clearly haven't got things planned out. You really didn't have a plan in place. You didn't really perform very well in terms of your career planning and career path visualization, and which is why when you're 40-year-old or 42-year-old, you probably have about 8 or 9 jobs in your CV, and after that you hit a blind end or hit a dead end, and you probably are helpless in terms of building a career any further. So this is why longevity is a very, very underrated factor in terms of building great careers. Nothing else matters. Great education doesn't matter. Great caliber or great what I would say great professional qualities, or being a great person or great individual or a wonderful performer, all these doesn't matter. Yes, all these are probably additional factors, but the single differentiator in today's market as to how long or how successful your career can be, and as a consequence how successful your life can be, both in terms of monetary and non-monetary things, is longevity in career, longevity in a particular job. Very, very clearly, I probably illustrated as powerfully as I can. Think about it very, very strongly and decide that you will have a plan for yourself in terms of building longevity both within employments and also within your long-term career. Clearly decide, depending on where you are in your career today, as to how many jobs or how many companies you can probably stay long for the next 20-30 years. Plan accordingly, work accordingly, clearly look at what roles you want to be in the next 3-4 years time, and which employer is there to employ you and things like that. Work on a plan like that, and yeah, it might look very, very tough initially, but once you have that goal set mentally, you will very clearly achieve much more than what is possible. And clearly, when you end of the day, when you achieve that, you will probably be way ahead of your peers who haven't done this planning. So in your career planning, the key word is longevity. I know that longevity is hit by a number of external factors or extraneous factors, but nevertheless, despite the odds, you have to build in longevity in your career, build in longevity in your employment, build in longevity of tenures within employers, and that is the best way to succeed in life. Believe me, people who have not done this have miserably failed in their careers. They have a lot of problems. They have a lot of duress because of a lack of money issues or lack of savings issues, because when you're really floating around not saving enough money or not earning continuously over a period of time, the first thing is going to take a beating is your bank balance, nothing else. Imagine somebody has changed 10 jobs in 10 years and somebody has done 2 jobs in 10 years. Obviously the person who has done 2 jobs in 10 years is going to have a much better bank balance than somebody who's changed about 5 jobs or 6 jobs in 10 years. It is as simple as that, and this is the brutal reality of life and brutal reality of the market as well. Somebody who has changed frequently and pointlessly, just thinking that he is a generally wandering generalist and didn't want to really go deep and work very hard and excel at it maybe for 3-4 years, in any particular organization, he is clearly creating a recipe for his own failure. This is what I would say in my experience. Again, I am not judging where I am today. I have got profound gratitude, and I am thankful for everything what I have. But at the same time, a lack of this kind of planning in terms of giving importance to longevity. Longevity is a very, very powerful word. So if you do not give importance to longevity, the price you pay for it as a consequence in your long-term life will be extreme. It will be very, very severe, and you'll only end up with regrets. So my only humble request to you is, don't have those kind of regrets. Start very, very clearly in terms of planning your career tenures, planning your employment tenures, planning what roles you will do when. And yeah, there are extraneous factors. I'm sure none of us can control extraneous factors, but beyond extraneous factors, in your best to the best of your own ability, how well can you build your career path in terms of increasing longevity is a very, very key word, and that is the recipe for great success in life. You believe me, you start thinking about it and you work towards it, you will see a drastic change in the next 5-10 years in your life, and you probably will never regret that you planned on longevity and you wanted to give emphasis to longevity more than anything else. And 15 years, 20 years down the line, you will be probably far ahead than someone who passed out from better colleges than you, worked in better companies than you, but changed more frequently than you. That is the bottom line, and I wanted to share this very, very powerful message, very, very compelling message to you. It might sound very, very simplistic, but remember, longevity is everything. Longevity is a key to success in life. Thank you for listening in, and I'm sure you like this video. Plan your things accordingly, and please leave your feedback in terms of what you think about this. Extremely grateful that you were with me in this video. Wonderful. I'll meet you again. Thank you.